Hello, I am back with another video. Well, I guess another live stream, as you kids call it. Um, so yeah, as you see in the title, you see what I want to cover. And give me a second because I was doing a little more pre-show prep, if you will. And what I've decided to do is I'm going to set a timer just so I kind of see where I'm kind of moving with things. So let me get that set. There we go. There are my notes. I have the video I want to start on available. So again, the title, Light Skin versus Dark Skin and Cyn G versus Chrissy. Why the divested and sovereign Black woman mindset is the only way. So I think what I'm just going to do is just move through a few throwaway notes. I took a few notes today while I was at work. And I took a few tonight as I was moving through things. And I'm just going to kind of just quickly throw those out. We'll move over to, well, I want to flesh them out, just maybe in the first 10 minutes, making these, give you the notes, flesh through them. Then I want to jump right into MsArchDuchess, her video here. This is a live stream she did yesterday, and it was awesome. I happened to be at the end of the workday going into like driving through the parking lot away from work, and I ended up staying in my car for like about 15, no, it was more like 30 minutes. Because, like, I'm just sitting there and, I'm a naughty girl. I smoke cigarettes and I don't smoke in my home. My roommate and I don't smoke indoors. So any excuse to like be on Twitter or like a live stream on YouTube on my phone to have that before I go into the house to, handle home business is always welcome. So so maybe you'll even see one of my comments pop up here in the top chat replay. Who knows? So speaking of, I may have to cover this now because last night I told you the whole Stefan to Starbucks thing. I want to maybe talk about how things have moved from those two events. And then this whole Kanye Trump Twitter thing today. It's like, I love my MAGA folks, but I, I'm so annoyed with Kanye and the Kardashians. Maybe that'll be the third plank. I was looking for like A to B to C. I'm pretty sure I can find a way to loop all that together, but we'll figure that out later. So, as you all can discern from the subject and the link I left to this stream here, like it's not to be petty or anything like that. And just get this out of the way. I'm not taking sides between Cynthia and Chrissy because the funny thing is that I know I've referenced this at least in a video or two ago that. And I'm going to cover this a bit here. It's really funny watching this happen, especially if we just kind of very quickly summarize the recent Black woman centric YouTube sphere the past like maybe 3 to 6 months. Simone, CK, Kendall, the comings, the goings, the whole SSL thing. It's been very interesting watching these things happen. Now, particularly Cynthia and Chrissy, who both had their, very public, opinions about them swirlers, them bed wenches, them, sunk in place, enabling white supremacy folks, whatever, all the like, little things that they throw out in both of their spaces. It's really funny watching this little beef tiff happen. And the first thing out of my head was I got my popcorn. It's like I'm like a living version of that Michael Jackson gift. Because this is gonna be very blunt. This isn't anything personal towards either of them. I was thinking, let them two bitches go right at it. Because you know what? This is inherently good. It's good for some bad reasons because I should maybe I'll drop a link or maybe find a way to piece Isadora Storm into this because when she came up with the Light Skin Tears platform and Chrissy and other people were kind of going hard in the paint about that. It's the light skin, dark skin discussion, and I think MsArchDuchess will say this in her stream, and other people have said this. The big problem is it's a discussion that should have happened. It should have happened in the year dot amongst us as a people. But particularly the past 56 years, the things we see in this race from then to where we are now, this is a discussion our mothers, grandmother, great grandmothers should have been having amongst the sisterin, and it should have been effected across the Black community, air quotes loosely, you know how I loosely mean that term, and that we wouldn't be in 2018 having this happen, because it's the best. It's almost a very Dickinsonian, Charles Dickinson-y way of, it was the best of times and the worst of times. It's the best time to have this discussion because of the different conversations that Black women are having across the spectrum, but it's the worst time because of just how public, especially with the past 10 years, the He-Man Black Women Haters Club, the whole online social media, very public things being said about Black women by Black men, by other Black women, by society in general. It's such a strange conversation that's so necessary, but it's so unnecessary because it's like being in the middle of this, like, great, like, it's like in the middle of World War II, if like people, Bavarian Germans versus more the Germans in Munich versus the Germans in, gosh, I'm not using the right goddamn. Why am I flaking out on like regions and cities of Germany? Oh, I don't know why. Like, I'm just trying to make an analogy about being in the war, and so you're a country fighting against 5 or 6 other ones, but you're within one country, two different cities can't figure out how to, like. Okay, there we go. Goddamn, AP US history is failing me. So if like the Germans in Munich versus the Germans in Berlin are having this like beef that they can't squash, while they're surrounded by, like, the Ruskies over there, the British over there, the Americans over there. It's just a really bad time, but it's such a necessary conversation, but it's a bad time, but it's the best time. And I think somewhere between that push and pull, we'll see where this falls. So, going to the first note, we need the pygmies, the pygmies, pro-blacks, to destroy each other. Now that kind of ties to what I just previously said. Cynthia G and Chrissy have had no problems. There were some public spats and public back and forth amongst those two with the CK Crystal and Kara's platform, Kendall St. Charles's platform, Simone 5'6", Isadora Storm, and those are the women I pretty much align myself with on that side of the aisle, whether it's the pro swirling, pro divestment, getting out of Blackistan, the Big Child, whatever you want to kind of call us, even though there's so many different descriptions, whatever. But if I could just label the 3 to 5 people, which I just did, and where I find my loyalties and where my outlook and opinion lying, that's there. And Chrissie and Cyn G had no problem, being very public about how they can't stand them swirlers, they can't stand them sunken place swirlers, etc. and so forth. So that's where I align myself. So just looking at strategically, if that's the faction I'm more aligned with, and I look across the aisle, and these two, it's a very much, I didn't write this down, but I kept thinking this all day. Now, I've never read the book in full, but it's been referenced so much over the years in so many different ways. The Sun Tzu Art of War. It's one of the tenets is never interrupt your enemy while they're making a mistake. So if Chrissie and Cyn G want to beef and go back and forth in this public spat and this public, but again, I don't label it that much to a degree because it's okay for Black women. I think this is a good thing. So that's where it's a good thing too. I can personally disagree with them and not be pleased with some of the things that they say on their platforms about the women like myself in the camp that I tend to more align with. But I think another part of this, again, it's a lot of what I'm going to be saying here in this stream is a lot of what is good is bad and what's bad is good here. That Black women need to be more public about where we disagree, where we stand, and just how we kind of tend to split up and split out amongst different discussions, because so much of Black woman, especially the very American tradition, not that this is exclusive to us, is such a very homogenized stock image. The fat Black woman with 8 kids, the sassy Black woman singing a gospel song, the Black woman rolling her neck and rolling her hips someplace, and so anything that kind of cracks at that and gives you different facets of opinions is good. So with this discussion between the two of them, I'm pleased in that sense as well. So second point that I made today, Chrissy should have gone on, not picked this fight. So I kind of let that a little choppy because you get to MsArchDuchess full stream, and there's some comments in there that were saying, yeah, she tried to pick it with Kendall back in the day on the whole the better deal discussion, where it was, the too long didn't read TL semicolon DR version of it was Black women should explore their options, find the better deal regardless of race. Kind of an extrapolation of the crystalline cares and character over color argument. And that is it. So she kind of came back with, well, one of her big things is no other man's gonna let you in his patriarchy, and so on, etc. Because that was at the time where I really, was just what I, like I said, I think I've said this before too. I just really started watching their videos, and it has been very beneficial in the sense of seeing the way their tone is changing along with their commenters. But I'm pretty sure I'll be able to cover that with some of the footage that we pull up here tonight. So, but this was a fight she really did need to pick, and neither of them need to really pick it with each other. Because the funny thing is, and this will come up again too, they seem like I even now looking at all the notes and just kind of listen to some of the clips on the play at night, I was thinking, why are, and MsArchDuchess is going to say within a minute or so, this clip on the play of hers, why are these women fighting with each other? They're very pro-black. Even if, like, with another term, pro-black or hotep, a lot of the in coon, they're really more amorphous terms. Like, they mean whatever they mean to the person using it and to whomever they're directing that term at. And so I have to just taking that into account when I say this. I mean, they both, like, I drew a picture. Maybe I should give you guys a little exercise if you're listening or you listen later. Get a piece of a pen and paper, and I want you to draw a four-sided box, a normal four-sided box. Then I want you to draw two, kind of Venn diagram circles, kind of, one with the arrow going one way and one on the other circle going the other direction. And then there's four sides to that box. So on one side, you can put white supremacy or WS. You can put the BC or black community on another, the black man or BM on one, and then Blackistan on the other side. So at the heart of this whole thing between Chrissie and Cyn G is so funny because they're literally having this beef war discussion in these two concentric Venn diagram circles moving in two different directions against each other within this box that they most likely, unless A, they're faking it, B, this is just for clicks and coins, and C, they know the truth about what women like us on this side know, but they have a nice following, they got some nice Patreons and donations and clicks and coins, and it doesn't benefit them to like pretend that they don't see this. So whatever that may or may not be, that's just a caveat that I'm offering to say, but they are just having this argument beef within this box that neither of them are ever going to get out of. Because I don't, it may come up, and I don't know if I'll see it in the replay as we play these clips. But I basically said that like this light skin, dark skin discussion is a conversation for Black women to have, but led by these two women, particularly the things they've said for Black women like myself who are more sovereign minded, divested minded. The kind of brick tile circles that have kind of evolved over here on this end of YouTube. I don't really care to have this discussion with them because they don't serve my interests. And again, like this will come up, and I know it's been said, they're not offering you any solutions, but to like keep loving the Black man, love your Black people, your melanin, call white people cavelings and call skins or whatever. Like these are just not Black women that I would let them lead me to the corner store, let alone like lead me to some racial salvation. But funnily enough, they both make good points. I'm glad this came up because I do even link my own. I may even play this because I did a video. When is this from? March 29th. There's a great chat. It's like a 20-minute chat, but I stretched it out to 2 hours, of course, to really dig in because I was really pleased with what Cyn G and her. She never blinks her buddy's name in here, and the discussion that both of them are having. I saw another video she had her on. So it's the two of them in an advice show talking about, you can see this title right here, but they go into like the crack epidemic. Both of them sharing that Cyn G's father's a crackhead. And I'm just like, whoa, it was just a really honest discussion. And it was way lighter in her my white supremacy, my white man, my pigskin, my Caucasoid nonsense. And I was just pleasantly surprised. Like, I have to do a video on this because I was very impressed, just in the sense that obviously, 95% of most of what she says, I just kind of just sit there and I'm like, yeah, okay. But this was a great video, and she might revisit this again because I just liked what was done here. So, but again, they're in this box having this argument, but they're two black women who are just they like this is even what Kendall called out in the back and forth with Chrissy, and even they even had a later run in due to some mutual friend or this thing. She and just like Cyn, they have this limited place to take you. And if you're just gonna stay in this box talking about I'm a white man and you're gonna like, divine dark skin guys, we gotta uplift black women. But I've said this before, like I'm noticing in their videos and their tone of voice and also the comments you read below of the black women who they're getting restless, and there's only so far you can move in this discussion after a while, because if you aren't going to ever put like, as I'll quote David Care, you don't nobody ever hold this black woman, don't bring her to task or to account. If you ain't gonna never call this black man to account, and you're just gonna tell people my white supremacy support dark skin, well, these black men can just keep erasing themselves, they don't care. And both of you you're limited. It's like, I can take, would I like ride my bike from New York to LA, or would I fly an airplane? Maybe I'll get there with the two of you on a bike, but that's literally the solution that they're offering versus, I would say, the women who are in the sovereign divested mindset, we'll just fly there. Maybe we'll get there, maybe we won't, but no, we'll get there for sure on a plane. Well, we'll know within 2 or 3 hours, instead of me riding a bike from New York City to Los Angeles with these women, and who knows if we'll get there. But anyway, they're trying to have this discussion within this box that they're never going to leave. So you're just kind of literally in a literal circle jerk with them. Yeah, brothers gotta stop giving the white supremacy, gotta stop race mixing, gotta support dark skin, but we gotta stick with them. And white men's gonna let you in this patriarchy, or Caucasoids, piglings, Caucasoids, whatever, cave beasts, whatever. If we're just going to stay in this box and have this circle jerk, it doesn't matter if either of them are right or wrong. They're just never going to give you an out or solution. You're just going to stay in this box, in this like circular like argument until infinity. A discussion like this with them, as is presented within this past week or so discussion and back and forth, you could be sitting in a nursing home. I could see black women in a nursing home sitting here back and forth on YouTube with this type of beef. There's no way out. So one thing, I guess, before we get into the MsArchDuchess clip, is the anonymity question. Now, because this did come up without Cynthia G, you're publicly out there calling white people cave beasts, this, that, and the third. But the funny thing is, like, I mean, there's a lot of black men who do this too. I don't know why this would be even more of a sting against her, but again, she's a woman. That does make things different. And I know that I think this may be a lot of you, before the whole Charlottesville thing happened on Daily Storm. I remember like there was a couple threads where people were plotting to like go flag her channel down. So she got the like kind of more 1488 Daily Stormer Chan types on her ass. And I was like, oh no, Cyn, no girl, you gotta stop. So it's kind of funny that Chrissy did call that out, and even myself, like, she's like, well, somebody to show their face as an agent. Well, Cynthia G, like, we don't want to like be you and have this fucking problem, if and when that came to pass, or if I decide to like, maybe open. I mean, I have an idea of a multifaceted platform where I could see bringing this amongst 5 or 10 other things I want to talk about publicly, and then going forward. But I'm not some black woman race warrior. So as much as I kind of view you and Chrissy through the same lens, when she does kind of call you out for saying, well, look, like, I'm not going to put my face out here. Actually, you can see it right here. This is the comment she must have posted on her channel. So you're publicly beefing with everyone. Your backward way of handling people is what had you crying about getting attacked and ruining your reputation not too long ago. So no, Sudi, I'm not a coward. I'm just not stupid. You could actually learn something over here. And that's, that. So the anonymity question for, MsArchDuchess kind of brings up in her own stream yesterday too, like the things that we talk about in these circles and just online. And I mean, I don't think I'm going to end up playing it just for sake of time, but the clip that MsArchDuchess plays of a black man freaking out about how some black woman that was his shade or slightly lighter didn't want to bang him because he was darker than her, and how he was going to shoot her in the hoo-ha, and just all kinds of violent, crazy stuff. Like, I left the link below, so they should go. It's towards the end of the stream, maybe mid end. I probably won't even touch it because there's too much here. But there's a reason for, like, not showing your face. And again, if you're just gonna have these circle jerk conversations where you're still caping for the four walls of this box: the black community, the black male, Blackistan, or specter white supremacy. There's really no point, because on all four of those sides you're going to get some blowback that you don't need. But anyway, don't want to stay there too long. So the last point I made here was, this was something actually I kind of pulled from Nick Fuentes, who is he's like kind of like from the kind of like, I will almost say, the emerging 3.0 of vestiges of the alt-right. He's like this 19-year-old Chicagoan American nationalist. He does a channel called America First. So I keep saying I will. There's always some subject, some big weighty topic for me to hone in on that I never do these. But here, I'm not gonna play the whole thing. Oh, he must have put some copyrighted music in here or something. Anyway, this kid's 19, which makes me feel like really old, even though I'm only like maybe not saying much. I'm just a decade older than him. I'm allowed to be his older sister, not his mom, so it makes me too old. But anyway, America First, Nick Fuentes, he's had some interesting criticisms about the alt-right, about a lot of discussions of where things are going. And one thing he mentions about, especially when they get into the Jewish question, and certain things that you just have to be careful how you approach them, because you need people with a certain IQ level to have them. And so this is let everybody online tell it, he's a quarter Mexican, so he's basically a beaner, whatever. And but basically some people need to have an IQ of 100 or more to have certain discussions, especially publicly, where any and everyone is listening. And so that's my last point before I go into the MsArchDuchess video. As Nick Fuentes outlined in discussion he had on one of his episodes, that certain things just need to be discussed amongst people with 100 IQ or more. People who, and I feel like everybody, I can put a IQ test thermometer through the computer screen to anyone here or anything like that, but just the underlying sentiment behind a statement like that is certain things need to just be discussed amongst people who are cognitively capable, that they have enough, they have enough reasoning capabilities, they know how to communicate effectively. You just can't, some conversations just willy-nilly don't need to be had with everyone at the table, everyone at the barbecue, everyone in the backyard. Some conversations should be had, a few people from the public party break off into a parlor and have a 3 fingers of scotch or smoke a cigar. Some people, just have a cup of coffee at the dinner table washing dishes, not the full dinner party that was just there partaking in the full event. There's some conversations, I think this whole light skin, dark skin discussion, particularly because it requires a level of honesty amongst Black women of all shades to kind of just maybe say a few words, almost like an episode intervention where, okay, sister, I'm gonna say just, this is why I was outside having taking a little break at work. I was thinking about making this video tonight, and I thought about this. This is almost a conversation that one dark skinned woman needs to sit in front of a lighter skinned Black woman, and across the spectrum in the middle, we can all fit into where we fit in on both sides of the table. So one would say, hey, sis, I'm a darker skinned Black woman, and I was hurt because you, I as a dark skinned Black woman was hurt because you as a lighter skinned woman, you maybe joined in with other Black boys calling me a chocolate drop, ink spot, crispy, all the terms thrown at darker skinned Black girls. And I personally, even though you may not have anything to do with this, I felt hurt because you were that girl, the light skinned, or biracial girl. And I know that there's a distinction there between those two, but just bear with me because I'm really just trying to hone this very quickly. But that could apply to them as well. And I felt hurt because you were always a girl that everyone chased after and wanted. And even if I wasn't fat, I wasn't dumpy, I wasn't ugly, because I wasn't lighter skinned, whether just by a fully Black admixture being light or being biracial and light or something like that. And that hurt. And then that's kind of where maybe the kind of Chrissy dark skin side, the position that they're taking on their side of the table. But then when we talk about Isadora Storm and her light skin tears and the whole kind of thing that she went through on her platform within the past few months, so the lighter skinned women across the table would have a comparable thing saying, I was hurt by you and other darker skinned black women and girls because you chased me, tried to beat me up or jump me, and this light skinned bitch thinks she cute, or tried to cut my hair or fuck with my hair or something, and did those things that were physically or verbally harmful to me. And even though I had nothing to do with it as a lighter skinned girl, for whatever reason, just because of lighter skinned black admixture or biracial parentage, whatever, and I had, even though, you had nothing to do with it, like having those boys, the black boys, the darker ones, from the Kodak jet blacks all the way down to the more mid brown black boys, elevating me or saying, "Oh, you light skin, you so prettier than that dark bitch over there." um that wounded me because it put me in a position that because of this black male's preference to be elevated, I didn't ask to be born this light skinned girl for these black boys to fawn over and then to like push you down to uplift me. I didn't ask for that to happen. So, and again, there's so much more nuances there, but I want to get into the clips. But that's at the heart of what I think needs to happen in this discussion. And that requires, like I just said, this whole idea of a higher level IQ, just which in a very shorthand sense just means it has to leave emotionalism at the door. It has to require honesty on both parts. And even if you personally never did these things, like for instance, Kendall said this on her platform before she left YouTube. She was basically saying, the whole idea, like, well, we can keep saying, I don't have any black male sons. I didn't give any birth to any of this business, blah, blah, blah. And actually, I've always, and I still kind of hold to that sentiment because I don't have any children at all, never, let alone any black children, and beyond that, let alone any black male children. But the phrasing of that made me understand the culpability that even if I'm not personally doing these things or participating in them, I have to kind of, it's almost like a secondhand ownership that kind of places you within the discussion to like just have some awareness into where you can play into things, even if you aren't directly doing it. Again, I'm getting a little too meta in that discussion there. But anyway, so in short, that kind of like honesty on both sides of the table is missing. And then even if beyond that, the hardest part of this whole Cyn G Chrissy thing is these are two black women that are not fit. Like, go back to the title of the stream. They are not in any way divested or sovereign black women. And this discussion is so nuanced, it's so delicate, and it requires so much honesty from dark skinned women, light skinned women, biracial women, everyone, all the moving pieces of the spectrum black womanhood, that these two women, I don't feel honestly can have these things or share these things with other black women. It's impossible for the allegiance that they have. Cynthia G and her white supremacy, my pigskins, beating her chest about, all, even if she says she's not pro-black, but again, I mean, if she wants to mince words, that's fine. And then Chrissy, her anti-swirler, nobody lets you know they're in a patriarchy, blah, blah, blah discussion, trying to hamstring black women into this kind of like fixed box herself. These are two black women that just really shouldn't be facilitating this. They can beef all they want, but either of them think that they're qualified to have discussion, considering how aligned they are to those four walls, that box I just gave you. Either beating their chest about white supremacy for black men who predominantly love white supremacy, or they love the white supremacy's woman and like, get in between the thighs of that. This black community that overwhelmingly tells a black woman to just mammy mule, make Sunday dinner for it, has nothing to offer. This black male who collectively has no interest in doing anything besides, like we've covered at length here, being the subject of some New York Times or Brookings.edu piece about how he's such a po-will victim, or this Blackistan general black malaise that is almost like a quicksand. These are women who, for one or two or all four of those categories, they are so deeply aligned to those things that who are you to be having this discussion is specifically for black women to unpack, and that requires level of honesty for all of us, from the darkest of the dark to the lightest of the light, to have with each other. So it's a moot point at the end of the day, all in all. But anyway, let me check in to see where we're at. Wow. Moving a little quicker than I thought we were. So we're just going to move through the MsArchDuchess piece, particularly because I'm just going to jump in, jump out. And we'll start there. And we'll just kind of move through. So this is the live stream that MsArchDuchess did yesterday. Chrissie versus Cyn G, my thoughts. Yeah, I don't know how people may feel, but I was thinking it would be weird, creepy to link someone else's PayPal in your own like video. It's not like it's fraud. Like I'm gonna like take the money or anything. Like you should definitely donate to her if you like anything that's said here. Check out her channel. She's been here on YouTube in and out for quite some time, and the work that she does is really valuable. So, and then you can see it right here. Go over, just click, donate. She deserves it. So let's just jump in here and kind of, pull apart some of this classic masterpiece.
My area is black male abuse and bashing and disrespect and murder and hate. Well, we will never, and I want everybody to hear me, we will never be able to get the respect and support that we need if we do not address the hate and the vitriol that comes from black males. If people don't think we're serious about that, they will continue to just gloss us over. Hey, you know what? Their men hates them. Everybody sees what's going on.
All right, I'm gonna pause right there because I kept going. You can see I started right at the 49-second point, and I kept going back and forth. I'm glad I ended up back further because I'm like, oh, this is a perfect point because that is so key. So all the Black Lives Matter and all the marching, all the think pieces, and all the, all these black women, and it's not just they're feminine. It's just this newer black woman mindset that's so interesting because it kind of has the trappings a lot of the kind of, I'm going to be very stereotypical, the kind of white middle class girl kind of, think pieces, indie-ish, whatever. It has all those trappings of that kind of modern 21st century ideas. But because black women, at the end of the day, they can try to like ape at all this like shit that these like, middle class airhead white women do and white and Jewish women do. But they're kind of always kind of stuck back and trying to say, but my black people, but incarceration rates, but my black men, but my Black Lives Matter. And the thing is, you can go yell at these white people all day on Twitter, social media, in the streets, but they all see this. And she's going to get to this point. They see these black men out here race mixing everywhere. They see that y'all drop it like it's hot to all their little goofy mumble rap songs. And if you're forever going to like, so you can't juggle these two balls because most people see just how despised you are within your own community, but you still hear mammying and muling. Nothing will ever matter if people can see you. Like, it's especially the social media. I think a lot of black women, we talk about the Kendall says, black man hacked himself. Social media is a black girl's best friend, but it's also her worst enemy in the sense that people can see you just living this duplicitous lie. Everything is more Black Lives Matter, more racism, more white supremacy, and white supremacist beauty ideals, whatever the hell you're gonna run your mouth about. But they see you over here. Now, I'm not gonna go to the very easy target of this, but I just don't want to stop too long. But that was just so key. People won't take black women seriously. They see what you allow in your own race and your community. Way back when I first started the channel, I did a response to Chef put economics in this comment that she made, and I just got really passionate. And that finally got me really into this channel and doing this because I'm like, well, how are we black women? Because I'm like, well, black women take over the Democratic Party or something. I'm like, whoa, like you got these white women out here after the whole big stretch of the Me Too movement, which is funny how quiet that's gone. When that first started, it got picked up with Kevin Spacey the first few weeks. I was like, damn. And you watch even a white man spread and sneeze. He was in a gulag the next week. And so you can watch white women do that like with the quickness, but you still sitting here. You can't walk down the street. You getting your ass groped. You getting killed over child support in your car in the driveway. Getting shot up in your third grade class at school. And I just don't. Nobody takes black women seriously. They take themselves so seriously because they forget that people can now see them. It's like someone like, dancing, in a house, doing like, the 70s disco dancing, and they don't realize their whole neighbors can see them. They left the blinds open. That's most of black women. They want to sit here and rally and rage, but everybody can see you, girl. They see what you put up with in this race of yours. How are you going to be yelling at the white man, his white supremacy when you sit here and let somebody call you a bitch, a hoe, a thought? And I think Ken's the ones you dropping your ass to in a club on the weekend, but you want some whitey McWhiter sitting in flower country, some Trump voter to like, oh, like it's like my Costa Rica videos. I'm like, black woman, you are cursed. You better stop playing because you put up with this in your own community, but you got the nerve to go up to some white person you don't know online in flower country and tell them what they supposed to do about some white supremacy. Girl, please.
People are seeing that black males are walking around supermarkets and malls with these white females. They're seeing it. And they're seeing all of you beautiful shades of brown, black women. Whether you're with your boo or whether you're not with your boo. Whether your boo is white, whether he's black, whether he's Hispanic, whether he's Asian, it doesn't matter. They're seeing what's going on. It doesn't matter if you're rolling with your homegirls. They're seeing what's going on, and they know that black women are being, you could call it ostracized, but who gives a fuck? You can't ostracize somebody that is divesting. Fuck what you heard. Niggas are not ostracizing shit over here. And you're not alienating black women. Black women are alienating them. And black women should benefit from the work in some way. Black women and girls, we should. And when you want to slice that pie down and then you want to say, well, now only dark-skinned black women and girls, I think you're going to have a problem in the long run. Because dark-skinned people don't get it. They're too busy surviving, too busy either being beat down or trying to build themselves up to try to slice the pie that thin. You know, this.
Okay, no, I think she gets to it or says something to this effect in a bit, but I just wanted to just jump in while I was fresh in mind and to catch it now. Because one thing I was saying when I was re-listening to that point, now we've seen the image of the dark chocolate Big Daddy King type. Those of y'all who are a little younger can go look that reference up yourselves. Like the tall, the dark, very phenotypically black, non-ambiguous man's image has been out here for some time. And so when we say dark people struggles, yeah, but particularly with the black man and that image, nobody's saying that there hasn't been. Well, hey, that's a story for a black man to tell on his own channel, his own place. I'm not going to try to tell that story for them. But whatever kind of like hardships or instances aside that they've actually experienced on that front from that phenotype, it's not necessarily black dark peoples, it's darker women because of like the natural kind of what people keep coming back to is, well, it's easier dark is more masculine. So ergo, darker women are just by proxy or just de facto more unfeminine, no matter like their weight, their sexual appeal, their facial dimensions, whatever, than anyone else. So it is a struggle, but it's more in line with, but you have to separate for how it plays out for a woman of a darker hue and maybe the features that come along with it versus a darker man. But I think she hits that later, but I just wanted to add that in there quickly. So
this shit between black women is very I'm gonna be honest with you. And I can understand why BB wanted to exit stage left, because it is very discouraging when you start looking at the real issues with black women and trying to reconcile the issues. It becomes a real hopeless situation because of what is happening just within this goddamn conversation between Chrissy and Cynthia G.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're both for black men, but look at how there's no way in. There's no way to link up, to build, to bond, to connect. Not that I'm giving it them, because I'm not trying to help them solve anything. They would never give me credit if I did help them solve anything.
I'll pause right there because like I already kind of said this too, but exactly. they're like, it's just such a funny argument for the two of them to be having. But I made a little note here right before I started because it hit me. It's almost like with Cyn and Chris G, Cyn and Chris G, Lord, the spectrum, the trajectory they're moving along kind of overlaps. But the funny thing is, okay, I suppose Cyn G, kind of mammy, white supremacy, blah, blah, blah. Now, then you move a few steps over, maybe one or two to Chrissy, and there's still some of that white supremacy sentiment, but it's moved more from just this kind of generalized, how are we as Black people, including Black men and Black women, that Cyn G kind of hovers at, to where Chrissy is basically the same thing, but it's just two steps over. Or I don't want to say over, like, up or better. I'm not trying to add a value added judgment to this. I'm just saying it's more of a Black woman, particularly a darker skinned woman. That's the basis of the same type of ideology. Cynthia G is just more this everyone Black, uplift our peoples, men, women, and children, versus with Chrissy, it's a lot of the same sentiment and the same caping for Black men and for Black men in general, but it's coming from a very Black woman specific point. So MsArchDuchess is kind of asking there, like I was asking the same thing. Like they should just, I wrote in the comments, I don't know where it is in the stream, I was like, they should just be besties. I don't really understand why these two women are having any beef at all. They both kind of agree to the same basic tenets about, saving they people and they Black man and they dark kangs, from a white supremacy and my melanin. I don't even understand why they're fighting. I still find it's all very amusing and entertaining because I just don't get it. They should be besties. I have the same question. I don't understand why they're even beefing and having this kind of divergence here.
If they heard this video tomorrow or tonight, they'd never say MsArchDuchess talked about some things in her video that I think I should rethink some things. They'd never say that. Well, I can't say they wouldn't, but I feel like they wouldn't, based on the way conversations go around here. But I think they're a really good case study because they both are very pro-Black man. One has a Black boyfriend, and the other says she adores dark-skinned Black men. And notice how they can't find a common ground even based on that. The disrespect is already there. And a lot of it is being instigated by Chrissy. Because to me, Chrissy, she's a smart chick in her own way, but not smart enough. Because I think that she's not aware of what comes across as hella attitude. And I don't really care. And this is something I want to say. I don't really care. I don't like when Black women promote attitude. Fuck what you heard.
All right, let me just kind of clip it there for a second. Yeah, again, because you just reiterate that. I don't understand why they both love Black men. I guess it sounds like Cynthia G is, is single, but, Christy's mentioned that she has a Black, boyfriend. And, I mean, okay, so then if we go back to that box again, I mean, they have obviously issue with the Black community, so we can take one of those walls down. The white supremacy thing, because actually, if you listen to the Chrissy criticism, she kind of like, just kind of talks wham, Cynthia G and her pro-Black, anti-white supremacy, her fictional Wakanda, blah, 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 and kind of go to her about that. So we can take that one away too. But they are, in general, for the most part, concerned about the general Black community, and they both love Black men and are anti-swirling, anti-race mixing. Like it's, so I guess I have to maybe come back, like, what were they actually fighting about? I think the funny thing is they love the brothers, they love, the melanin, the Black community in general. But so again, maybe where my little diagram that I made in my notes is kind of what really kicks in, is they're kind of, the difference is who is trying to center the Black woman's experience, and then even from there we have to split further because Chrissy is definitely representing a very pro darker skinned Black woman experience at the center. So funnily enough, Black women like are in formation about loving the brothers, but when you bring in Black womanhood and which Black womanhood you center and how you center it, or whether it's centered or brought to the forefront of discussion or not, that's where all the beef and all the dramas is coming in at. So that into itself is more telling than anything. But anywho.
I don't. I don't like it. I don't think it's helping us. I'm tired of it. Now, I flex on my videos, but if you met me in person, I'm very humble, very regal, very mature, very fair and balanced. You see what I'm saying? I'm not somebody that's going to sit up here and promote a negative demeanor as a Black woman in public, not even in private. Like I said, other than what I feel like doing on my videos, because that's the energy that I'm flowing with, because sometimes it's necessary in this environment. That's right, baby. It's not sexy. And somewhere in Chrissy's demeanor and conversation, there's a certain demeanor there that her voice has different inflections in it that says that she can be, friendly, kind, sweet, whatever. But I just feel like overall, it's like I'm in bitch mode. Is she from Philly? I'm from Philly. It's just. Yeah, just that's the problem. So I'm just kind of thinking Black women are gonna need to realize that these microscopic issues, some of these issues, we gotta have a fucking cutoff point. What's up, Trace G?
Okay, I'm gonna pause there because I realized I made a note that the 1 hour 20-minute mark is something I wanted to hit at. So we're just gonna jump there, kind of winding down for what I was gonna share in this video. So let me just play it here, see and find that other point or two that I wanted to make, and then we'll move on.
Stations away from supporting them. My video A should B was right. Black men do not deserve our support. I've done a lot of videos through the years, and I have covered all of the topics that both of these women are talking about. All of them. If I could go back, if my other channel was up, I could go back and pull them up. I was way ahead of them. I was talking about Black love before I woke up and stopped the bullshit. I thank God for social media. Because
I had to pause right there when she said that. I was like, yes, because I really remember when she still shows the picture, like if you're dissing the sisters, you're not fighting the power. And I know she doesn't use that as often. I mean, it's still out there, and it's definitely I'm not saying like it's an antiquated message or anything, but it's so funny because I do remember watching her videos a little bit on the earlier on side, or just from the older platforms she had, and I noticed it's her, and also Egypt Ann, because some of the videos when she even was showing her face. And I'm definitely not calling them mammies or handmaids or anything in the sense of the term, but they were just way more like, and it's so funny because I think about, kind of why I started watching Cyn G and Chrissy a little bit more recently. They were way beyond that, but there was just like, well, we need to stick together, Black people, Black men, Black women, this race mixing, and how is this all like blah blah blah, like just these kind of like sentiments of like, okay, this stuff isn't cool, guys, like come on, let's get it together. And it's so funny, obviously there's a lot more nuance here, but I'm just trying to basically quickly say, yes, she was a different, even from when I first started watching MsArchDuchess. This may have been like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I really can't locate exactly, but I just found that very interesting. She said that because I do remember that difference. I mean, from then to now is just like, it's like insert like some gif of like my like hat being blown off.
It made me realize what a mess we're really in as Black women and as a race. So I just got out of that conversation and started moving towards international dating, interracial dating, and anything other than dating the majority of the Black men in America who are lazy.
Yes, and so the mess that we're in, and this will have to be another discussion, but so we're in this light skin, dark skin debacle. We have all these competing voices online. Just like I said earlier, a lot of this discussion needed to have been had years ago about the light skin, dark skin, and how how we as a race are going to proceed. Or Black women would have put their foot down and said, yeah, we can still make these little jokes, maybe privately, amongst ourselves. And that's the thing, when it was just amongst us, it did cause problems and whatever, but we had to have some type of at least faux united front for the most part. Not even though obviously there's a lot more distinction there, but basically when the Black man particularly started coming to social media in the public sphere, there's this whole Donald Glover thing going on where he had some episode of his Atlanta show where some very dark Black woman starts going on off of some white woman out with her man. And it's so funny because, in Jungle Fever, Spike Lee's film, Queen Latifah plays the waitress who ends up serving them at their restaurant, and she gives this whole pro-Black speech about him bringing some white woman to a soul food restaurant in Brooklyn or wherever they were, in whatever borough. And the problem has gotten so debased because Black women are like ostrich are like an ostrich. Let's just keep it singular because I can't remember the plural completely, and I'm gonna goof it up if I do. And they just have buried their heads further and further and further in the sand. And I think this problem has gotten so bad because of it. And I don't know if collectively there's any chance of Black women getting out from under it. But I have the perfect way to end this after. So that point, I was just thinking, I actually thought about this while I was making notes today. Let me write that down because I'll just give you 2 words: litmus test. Let's keep going. There's a little bit more here.
And who do not want to do the work. They want to sit back and let women do all of the work, and I do not respect them for that. And any woman who supports that type of behavior needs to just wake up. I don't want to say anything too insulting. Yeah, and yeah, exactly, emancipation. I'm tired of the Black women. I've been very cautious in what I say to other sisters on here because I have not wanted to be critical and judgmental, and I have not wanted to be condescending. But the fact is, I have a lot of information I need to start being real about, and I'm tired of holding back and being politically correct. And again, I'm not feeling the condescending, hide in the face shit. If you're gonna be condescending, show your face. If you're gonna talk about a movement about color, be the first person on camera to show your beautiful dark brown skin. What you talk about your channel should reflect what you talk about. And again, I know that I'm talking about a bunch of violent, vicious, murderous predators. So naturally, I'm not going to be on center stage talking about that. I mean, that just makes sense because the nature of Black males is they're highly vindictive, and they're very misogynistic. So they hate the thought of a Black woman having an opinion that is not about white supremacy and that's not about trying to beautify herself. And as I told you if you're on the other channel the other day, then you know that I was telling you that Black men do not even like beauty. Y'all think they do, and Black women spend all this time on their videos showing each other how to do hair and makeup. They don't even give a fuck. It's how big is your ass? How willing are you to give it to me? That's all they're thinking about. They're not thinking about all this beauty.
You know, it's so funny because listeners make that point a few times, and it just hit me like, yeah, well, what is it that is even like there was the photo that went around the two black girls and their black male prom dates at prom, and the guy is just standing on her dress. Like, you know, whether he realized it or not, I know everybody's kind of gone back and forth about it, but like, you know, and we spent some, and then the both, it was more, less than that. It was the same photo I'll see of black girls, like when they're all dolled up. They got their kind of half, 3/4 turned, if not fully turned away from the camera with their head tilted back with their butt out. Like, that's like the de facto black girl picture. Like, I don't, only time I ever see anyone else do it is some white Asian or Hispanic woman that's very black, whatever identified, because she knows that that's what we do in our photos. You know, it's our booty out, like turn around, our butt kind of sticking out, because that's all that really matters. So it's so funny she mentioned that beauty point and how that's such a sticking point, and we want to do all these hair and makeup videos. But you know, actually, I think I'm done with the stream here for now. I may come back and revisit this at some other point because there might be a few other things I want to address. But just kind of riffing off of that, here initially, the um the beauty and all the videos. Like, I think I made a comment in the stream here. I'm gonna go looking for it, but the hair and makeup videos, you know, for a group of women who, you know, due to, you know, our male counterpart and the lack of care and foresight, and, you know, making demands of our mothers and grandmothers and great grandmothers before us in this race, the stealing of our femininity, everything being about us being beastie, being masculine, you know, because, you know, you can't walk around Third and Martin Luther King Drive the same way you walk around on Pinecrest and, you know, Brickle Brackle, Woodgrove Road. You know, the way like a lot of majority white suburban, like, you know, quote unquote good neighborhoods have those like street names. Like, you sometimes you'll be reading some city thing, you'll know exactly what they're talking about. So the way you walk around in, like, you know, collar community suburbia is different than a majority black area inhabited predominantly by black men and their black mammy handmaidens. So a lot of the femininity that is stolen from us just by de facto being in majority black areas where we don't get to have the same type of carefree type of safe experience or safe woman experience. Like, don't want to jump into that because that's something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. Basically, the hair and makeup, especially, one other layer to that I'd add is the fact that a lot of black women and girls, you know, we're told not to wear makeup. That's making us fast, making us grow up too fast. And I don't want to go too hard on this because it's something I want to talk about for a bit too, and I haven't found a way to phrase it yet. Is, so we're told we're too fast and we shouldn't be doing that, or there's a couple layers to it. There's the church argument. Well, God don't want you wearing all this painted stuff. Whores only wear their faces all painted up and blah 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 blah. And so we're told not to do those things. And the hair and makeup, now that, you know, such as social media and the internet, you know, circle for everyone, a lot of those tips and eyeshadows and lip liners and stuff is taken off amongst every other race or group of women. So it's just, as women in general, we want to participate. And so, as MsArchDuchess accurately points out, we don't want to talk about, you know, a lot of the more heavier things or things that seriously need addressing by black women. We rather do, you know, fluffy things. So yeah, it's a distraction. It's because we don't want to deal with the real who is at the gate as to why we either wear so much makeup and stuff because we're trying to look like every other chick or the most popular one, whatever's catching the black male's eye in particular, or we're wearing all that stuff because, you know, it's something new, it's something fun for us to like engage in. I kind of lost my train of thought there, but it's a part of just having something to talk about. We don't want to talk about more of the heavier things, and because we don't get the same circles and spaces and permissions to kind of lay our head and be vulnerable about maybe more serious and more heavier things that other races and other groups of women get to do. And then it also keeps us from talking about who was at the gate. You know, making a channel about celebrities or, you know, makeup and hair is just, like some of the jokes that like guys give women, like, well, women never have philosophy channels or channels about, you know, fixing a carburetor or whatever. And there's just things that women just kind of do because we do them because they come naturally, but also because for too many of us, it's a race society thing. It's just women shit that we rather talk about. But then the last leg of that discussion, just that point is so much of the femininity, I think, for Black women is so robbed that a lot of the hair makeup channels gives us, it's a way to like really project, you know, look at us, we're being feminine, we're women, and we're doing makeup and hair and makeup. And that's a woman thing that cuts across every single racial ethnic group, you know, where they live in some hut someplace in like the Polynesian islands, or, you know, someone walking down any major street in New York, London, or California, and that connects us to the greater woman, you know, circle, the greater woman, you know, platform just across the planet. And it's like, hey, you know, I know everybody says we're so manly, so beastie, there's so little protection for us. This is us participating in something that every other woman does, and we're just like them, guys, and we're feminine and we're women. And it's just a way for us to inhabit that world that every other race and ethnicity and group of women gets to inhabit, that for a lot of reasons in our own racial group and clan, those things are diminished or they're not so possible. So you know, I think this is a perfect like video for once. And I definitely went into a couple different places. I think I covered all the notes that I wanted to cover. Oh, my closing note. So we watched some bits of this live stream from MsArchDuchess. We talked about the Chrissie versus Cyn G, white skin, dark skin, colorism, white supremacy discussion. And so, as I said before, like one thing I suggested was the IQ question or just the cognitive question. There's a lot of these Black women that don't belong in this discussion. I think having Cyn G or Chrissy try to lead you one way or the other in this whole beef that they're having is insane, because I don't think either of them have any. They have, I mean, the women they want to lead will follow them, but there you go. So that's the closing statement. This is a litmus test for Black women who get it or who don't get it. And like I've been saying, a couple channels, like a couple videos in the past recently. There's a lot of Black women who really don't know what to do. And the reason why I found Cynthia and Chrissy's videos entertaining for the past month or so, especially after this last big YouTube woman-centric circle kind of moving and shaking, I think I'm finally comfortable listening to them without wanting to like throw things at the screen, is because I've really come out of this next level conditioning. I'm breaking the conditioning. In words of Alex Jones, I can listen to them now without getting, not say triggered, but the annoyance has passed, because they're now a really great case study for just they're a really great barometer for a lot of where maybe the in the middle of the road Black women are. And so you watch some of their videos, you can hear in their voice, they're kind of losing their patience. There was some video, one or two that made, Cynthia's been talking about why these so-called good Black men cape for the dusties, and you know, the one I even did on her about the whole feminism, you know, welfare discussion with Phil from the Advice Show, and his whole, well, sister, it's not, oh, well, you know, white supremacy, you know, and you can hear in both of their voices that, and they're kind of just like maybe a reflection of the women who follow them, that, and you go read the comments, and they're just not, the natives are getting restless, and a good chunk of Black women are just tired of saying, well, look, so we agree it's white supremacy that makes you hate us because we dark skinned, and makes you like not go to school, makes you hate us for getting a job, while the manufacturing jobs left in the 1950s, all the whole boilerplate that we're all used to hearing. So it's so funny watching them have to. I don't know if they're going to change. They're just getting too frustrated, because at a certain point, like I said before, you can, if you're just going to have these quote unquote enlightened discussions and back and forth beefs, but you're still having them within the same box, the same litter box that you won't get out of. You can circle jerk all day and go back and forth, but you're never going to leave this box, and that slowly will start to happen. And I project in the future that no, I'm not ready to make that bet yet. I got a theory what happens to both of them in the future, but because there's only so far you can go. Either you're going to go crazy trying to cape and cover for the Black community, for the Black man, and for whatever segment of Black women ideals that you inhabit. They only can go so far. So this whole discussion is part of the greater litmus test. So we keep telling them, when are the black women going to wake up? We're going to get it. We're going to stop attacking us. Why don't they just say choose character over color? Why be anti-swirler? Why all the white supremacy talk all day? I don't know. And again, for a lot of reasons, that a lot of these black males that we go on about can't be saved. A lot of black women can't be saved. Because again, for me, this at the end of the day is a higher racial problem for black people of sub-Saharan African descent. In a broad sense, this is just one subset that I find myself in a kind of communal sense in with the certain women that I align with here in these circles. But my broader scope and look at this picture is way different. So this litmus test that kind of presents itself. If certain black women can't get out of their Chrissie or Cyn G circles, and it's just constant back and forth, if they're going to stay in this litter box having this light skin, dark skin discussion, but they're never going to get within the four walls of the black race or the white supremacy or Blackistan, they're never going to get it. And that's fine. And the saddest part is a lot of black people in general, and a lot of black women aren't going to make it out of this discussion. They're not going to ever see past that. And it's almost in a way, let me throw in my biblical analogy for the night while I take a sip of water to wine over here. It's Noah's Ark. Not everybody's going to get on the ark, and that's fine. It's painful, it's hurtful, and I think the larger part, I actually thought about this earlier. I think when we get so caught up which black women will get it or don't get it, the most painful part, even for myself personally, and I'll admit this, is I see the reflections of other black women I know in my own personal life, my own family, who aren't going to get out of these discussions. That some of those, that auntie or that mama's friend of yours, and your own mother, or some black women that you could think about burying them one day. And all the things that we talk about in these circles that we've learned, we're traveling, we're dating out, we're divesting, we're sovereign, and blah, blah, blah. But the hardest part emotionally is thinking about the black women that that won't ever see the things that you see. Not that everyone's ever going to see the world the way you see it or whatever. But again, just in closing, that's just a painful part of this. But if certain black women, this is a good litmus test, this light skin, dark skin discussion that's going on between two of them, is there's going to be other fire points that come up. But this is a really good point to stop and say, this is discussions of painful talks that black women are going to have. It's the best of times and worst of times for this, because there's too many fires to put out. And for a lot of us who, maybe particularly those of us who, I guess almost all of us, are of a certain age, where a lot of these things are already set in motion by our mothers and grandmothers and great grandmothers and beyond that, who did not have these discussions with other black women. Maybe yeah, it's already a little bit late for tonight. I should do some prep on this. I think I'm going to come back with that Jungle Fever clip. I always think that's such a great video to make I should do that tonight. I'm going to close this right here. And if anybody's I see it says 4 viewers. Does that include me, or is that just other external people? I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe I'll just come and do that one real quick. And I can always go deeper later on, maybe tomorrow or something like that, because I kind of want to do something else for a bit. But man, because that Jungle Fever, anybody's familiar with that movie? Like, share, subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you're familiar with the film Jungle Fever. Yeah. It's I haven't watched that whole movie in years, but I watched that clip so basically it's a scene, as you guys know, I probably all know the story, or spoiler alert, the movie came out in 1989 or 1991. So definitely giving you a spoiler alert. I was in kindergarten when that movie came out, basically. The very light-skinned black wife, professional wife, is sitting around with her black girlfriends who span. Oh, well, I have to now, because this whole light-skin, dark-skin debate in the context of that film. Oh my God, I have to do a video of this now. Maybe I'll just do a quickie tonight to get people into the scene. It's about a 10-minute scene though. Yeah, it's the perfect time for this discussion, because this whole light-skin, dark-skin debate, it goes so much deeper and it covers so many avenues. And basically, black women can't. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use this next 5 minutes, and I'm gonna say goodbye, and I'm gonna go grab that clip and come back in a moment, because this is the key. Let's go back to the title. Light skin versus dark skin, Cyn G versus Chrissy, why the divested and sovereign black woman mindset is the only way. It's the only way because so many of these discussions, light skin, dark skin, stay in the race, go outside the race to marry or produce children, and those being kind of big things like, well, your skin color is just genetically determined by a host of factors. Who you marry or choose to produce children with are fixed. Either once you choose, you can't like unchoose them per se. So the sovereign divested mindset just puts you in a position where you have to always be making certain decisions, and you can't be boxed in, because again, if you're boxed in by the black community, by Black stand, you can talk about maybe going to climb Mount Everest, but you're always boxing in that attempt within this four-sided argument. You're sovereign divested, you're a free agent in the world. You can go climb it, you can go not climb it. You don't have one or two sides to something pulling you back or kind of closing you in. It's the only way forward, because a lot of the discussions and the choices that black women have to make now are just a lot in the situation we find ourselves in 2018 and going beyond, the global situations that are changing. Immigration, nationalism versus globalism, the change in the 21st century information era that we're moving into, the readjustment, realignment we're seeing across like the Western world in a political, cultural, and economic sense. I mean, there's so many bigger things that I don't even talk about on this channel yet that I would like to, that are informing things I'm saying. So basically, if you're not sovereign and divested, you're not going to function really well in the greater Western world right now. So if you can't even find a way to stay flexible, stay loose outside of these general discussions that, and I'm not belittling any of these things, calling them silly because of the skin color, the experience that black women have is light or dark or whatever in between aren't important. But if black women can't be, one, sovereign divested, and then B, find a quick, succinct answer, at least in terms of moving forward in these discussions, not be stuck in these like back and forth hour-long debates with another black woman that's boxed in like you. We can't, if you can't be sovereign divested and find some way to relate to yourself and position yourself as a black woman in the world now, a lot of those greater things that are happening at your state level, at your country's level, at the geopolitical level, that are happening in this 21st century world. Like, just think about one of those Russian dolls with all the little dolls inside. This whole light skin, dark skin, black woman, being sovereign divested, or being a mammy mule for Blackistan. I know we all in these circles, for a lot of black women, you feel like this is such a thing and this is all so encompassing, but there's a greater world that you're living in right now at this moment that you're breathing in, that if you don't find the answer to this, or just how to find a workable answer for you to move and live and thrive in right now, you're lost. And I think too many black women are going to be stuck in the sandbox, in this sandbox kitty litter box with Chrissie and Cyn G back and forth, meow. But you got to find some way out of this and keep it moving, because there's a greater world out here that's changing and moving, and our black woman experience is only a very small part within it. So before I close right now, let me just leave you with a really brief analogy. I know you know me and my analogies so far if you watch a few of my videos. I was looking at, this is like maybe a couple years ago. I was living with a roommate and we were looking at some pictures. We used to like, smoke some weed, drink some beers, kick it. And we were looking at pictures of the universe. And you look at the Milky Way and you can kind of see what Earth is, or depending on how it's structured. And you look at the whole spectrum of the universe and you realize the Earth is literally just a pinprick. And then even for you on the Earth, like, within the grand scheme of things, you're really just like maybe a pinprick, the size of like the prick of a pin. And it's like, you go, whoa, I am me and I'm all these things. I'm my race, my gender, my blah, blah, blah. But in the greatest scheme of the universe, now we've gone out of the 21st century, geopolitical, economic, social, ahistorical 2,000 plus years of Western civilization. all the way out to the cosmos in this discussion. So just think about yourself and just how minuscule you are as one individual carbon-based unit walking around this motherfucker. And so I almost kind of sometimes find myself trying to move between just me sitting here talking to my laptop to you right now, to thinking about, I can go out on my my patio right now, see the moon, and then think about the moon being seen from like what was formed the planet formerly known as Pluto. You just have to kind of oscillate between yourself as this individual, this self-contained universe that you are here on planet Earth, and your little city, your little state, your little house or apartment, versus this great universe expanse where you're just this one pinprick on planet Earth in this whole unmeasurable expanse of the universe. So that's my real trippy. That's like my trippy coast to coast kind of late night radio for you right there. So I'm gonna leave it right here. Thank you for tuning in. I think I already have a great part 2 for this color, light skin, dark skin discussion. I've wanted to talk about this clip from the Jungle Fever for so long. So I think I'm gonna take a break, and damn it, I'm gonna do it. Even if I have to skip yoga in the morning and just go after work tomorrow, this is worth it, because I've wanted to do this for a while, and I would not have thought of this had I not been having this discussion. So again, the link to MsArchDuchess is below in this original clip. Check out her channel, like, share, and subscribe. Here's her PayPal address. She's been in this game and she's been making videos for some time, and nothing but love for the work that she's done in these circles for Black women. I can't thank her enough. So you should get over there, hit her up. www.paypal.me/MsArchDuchess. And I'm going to sign out right there for now. So if you're still up and feeling antsy, I can probably come back with a quickie. Let me take a smoke break, reconfigure my thoughts, and yeah, I'm going to come back for this one. It's definitely worth it. Not that it's not worth it, but I'm like, I should go to bed because I should go. Nah, I gotta come back for this one. So signing off for now. I'll be back. I'll make a little widget for it, and I'll be back in maybe 10, 15 minutes, something like that. All right, peace. Back in a few.